You mentioned the Justice Department coming to town to begin an investigation into the department in the wake of the Breonna Taylor case. Uh, how did your folks respond to that news, and how has that been proceeding so far?
I think, so what I'll say is from the time I came here, at least to my command staff, I messaged we would be fortunate if they didn't come, but we had to be realistic and understand they probably would come. And so I think from a command level, it probably wasn't so alarming to the degree that got down to the troops, probably not so much. That's an issue. Communication downward is always a problem. I think for the troops, it was another punch in the gut. They've just really been pummeled over the last year. And listen, they'll be the first to tell you much of it. A lot of it they brought on, okay, but also a lot of it they didn't, and a lot of the stuff, the hate that's been pushed their way is not. It's not okay. I'll say that all day long. I take pride in the police department. I take a lot of pride in officers, and some of the stuff that they've been subjected to is not acceptable. That being said, so I think it was really demoralizing because it was just like, here's another layer, here's another. How are people going to see us? Because that's the one thing that really surprised me when I came in here. When I started the job, I was fairly certain people would not want to work. I mean, I just seeing, it wasn't just seeing the crime, but just knowing what they've been through. I figured the cops wouldn't want to work. And yet, from day one, what I've run into is this department that has all these officers that they want to work, they want the community to be proud of them, they want to do the job correctly. They just want direction. I mean, so it's a very prideful department. So the DOJ was a gut check, but that being said, what they've come in, the DOJ, and what they've asked to look at, what their concerns are, it's nothing that I've not heard anything that I did not already expect, and that I don't think has already at some level been public here. So it's okay. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be inexpensive, but this department will be stronger once it navigates through it.
In Atlanta, you stepped down as chief after one of your officers shot and killed Rayshard Brooks, a man who was running away from them in a Wendy's parking lot, and that came shortly after the death of George Floyd, sparked more protests, Atlanta in the spotlight. Are there some large lessons that you have taken away from that episode and from your time in Atlanta that made you a better chief?
I think there's always lessons. There's lessons every day. I think what I would say to folks is every incident is different. And I think where you're going to see and what you are seeing, why there's such a hesitancy by the new DA to take that officer to trial, and is Rayshard Brooks, his death absolutely was a tragedy all day long. But what I will say is he fought with the officers. The situation became escalated over and over. And so what you have to figure out is, are we going to get into a space, because this is what I was being asked, are we going to get into a space where individuals who we know are DUI, that we let them go as well? And so I think what I realized is there's some really differing opinions on how policing should be done beyond the obvious. And I think so there's a much larger conversation that we have to vet out while things are going well, because that's just such a tricky space to get into, because I'm fairly certain that Mothers Against Drunk Drivers would have a very different feel on that. And so, there's stuff that I've taken away every day from my job. I do differently, but the one thing that really stuck out to me after the Rayshard Brooks killing, and when I look at the other incidents, the force incidents I had in Atlanta and the force incidents I had here, and I wish I'd pushed it harder, and I'm trying to push it here. I don't think we invest enough in our officers in requiring them to be comfortable in hand-to-hand tactics. And I think that while technology has been wonderful, it has also allowed us to become complacent in a number of ways. Officers don't even need to get out of a patrol car to answer a call. And so they don't. And I think, relying on pepper spray, tasers, paintball guns, what have you. You've got to, or pepper ball guns. It's allowed them to not have that level of comfort that police did when I would say I came through with hand-to-hand combat. And by combat, I mean a firm grip hold, putting someone on the back of a patrol car, maneuvering their elbows so you can get them in custody. And you just see that the tactics, because listen, as cops, you are going to have to deal with confrontation. There is a reason we train people the way we do. It doesn't go well all the time. I would love for it to, but it doesn't. That's reality. So how, as a cop, are you going to handle it when the person resists arrest? And what I see is officers, whether it was in Atlanta in that incident and other incidents, and here, they don't know how to fight. And I don't mean chokeholds. I mean just fights so you can get the person in custody without the situation escalating. And so I know that when I left Atlanta, and I felt like, geez, how do we get it so that a large city department, that you can have people, because really, if you want to be good in something like that, you really have to be training a minimum of 2 days a week. And we have here, and I know we're running up on time, but we have this professional instructor at our academy. He's an officer, and he teaches jiu-jitsu. He's world-renowned. And I'm trying to get it so that, and the recruits were all taught it in service. But I want the department and the city to pay for people to go twice a week. But the problem is, how do I get the people to go that won't go? And like, I went to that class of this guy teaches. I felt empowered after one class. So it's like, that's what I need, is the confidence, so you don't feel you have to pull out your gun or your taser. You know what I mean? So that's my next challenge.